And now, Johanna Fisher.
Hello, and welcome to Truth Absolutely. And today, for True, got another friend for you to meet. I'm so excited to be able to introduce this dear friend to you. I've known him for, what is it, 140 years?
Somewhere in there.
That
Yeah.
would make you how old? Tons old. Larry Haron is with us today. And Larry, I met as a church musician when he was in Dallas here at Reinhardt Bible Church. That's how I met Larry. I was the music director at Oak Cliff, and he was at Reinhardt. And we did some joint things together, and we just got to know each other and bonded really over music originally. And our friendship has just been wonderful through the years. So I'm very happy to present to you, introduce to you Larry Haron. Larry, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Johanna. It's a pleasure.
Let's talk a little bit about your background because now you're in Atlanta and I knew you here in Dallas. Let's talk about a little bit about who Larry Haron is from the first Dallas connection. Larry, why music? Because that's how I first got involved with you.
Why music? Goodness, what a question. So, music was unavoidable in my upbringing. Um,
Meaning you had to take piano lessons and all that stuff?
oh, oh yes. And I actually have a picture of me when I was in a crib next to the piano, and my mother's playing this big old upright piano in our living room.
Hmm.
And my dad loved music. He was not he didn't have keyboard skills, that sort of thing, but
Mhm.
he grew up in Boston. He introduced us to everything from classical music to jazz to um, just a lot of great music. And my mother was a music major and a voice and piano major in college. And
Wow, wow. So you were
yeah,
surrounded by music.
yeah,
And
yeah,
as you say, it was unavoidable.
yeah, it really was.
But
My
you
dad.
kind of headed toward church music. That was an interesting kind of a turn, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, and you know what? I give Michael Wood credit for that. Michael Wood was the music minister at Reinhardt before me.
Oh.
And up to that point, we just had seminary students from Dallas Seminary that would fill in, and we just kind of limped along. But, and you'll laugh at this. So Don Geiger hired Michael Wood part-time. He was going to seminary at Southwestern Baptist Seminary for
Mm.
master's in music. And I thought, oh my goodness, we're becoming like the Baptists. We're hiring somebody to do church music. But you remember in um, um, The Wizard of Oz when it goes from black and white to color.
Oh, yes.
That was kind of the change that took place when with all that Michael did, and I just thought, wow, worship can really be
On the
just
yellow brick road. I got
yeah,
it.
right, right. But it
Mm,
was just, yeah, it just could be so deep and beautiful and not just slapped together.
mhm,
And so really I owe Michael Wood for that because when I was in college at John Brown University, I was a music major and I thought, yeah, I want to be a music minister. And
mm,
so yeah.
mm. But there was a different rendering of music minister back then, is what you're saying. Now, I skipped over a lot probably because I know your background include, you said John Brown.
hmm
So where else did you go to study for music?
Well, I went to John Brown University, actually started at North Texas. Ended up at John Brown. I knew a lot of people that had gone there, and I was very impressed with the education that they received. And then after John Brown, I went to Southwestern Baptist Seminary to get a master's in music, and I went to Dallas Seminary at the same time
Hmm.
uh, during the summers. And so I got a master's of music at Southwestern and a master's of arts and biblical studies at Dallas because I wanted to have some credibility in the pulpit. And, people used to make jokes about, music ministers don't carry anything heavier than a hymnal. Um, so
Well, you're heavily degreed to earn master's degrees, a master of music and a master of arts in biblical studies.
mhm,
Um, that's more than most, I think, music ministers tend to have.
yeah.
Um, you've been the executive producer for Singleton Productions,
Hmm.
and that sounds a little bit like Barney. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You were
Singleton is
involved in
spelled.
that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that was, that's a great example of Proverbs 16:9. Man makes his plans and the Lord orders his steps. And
Oh,
I was working with Bob Singleton, and
mhm.
it was just the timing and the right place. And
Yeah.
so we became the music. He was the executive music producer for Barney and Friends, and then I was the assistant music producer. And yeah, we were on the
And that
ground.
was wildly popular back in the what, 80s? Was it?
Um,
What,
no, it
70s?
it was in the early 90s.
Early 90s. Okay.
Yeah,
I put
yeah,
it too soon then. You're
yeah.
also involved in producing Grammy and Dove Award nominated music for corporations, industrial, and educational clients. And
Hmm.
did have the opportunity to perform at Radio City Music Hall. You got a little story there, I hear.
Yeah, that was a hoot. So that was Barney live at Radio City Music Hall. That
Oh,
was that was 19 I forget, 1993 or 94. And it was funny because the it sold out faster than the U2 concert did.
oh
And
my.
it was also the first time that Radio City Music Hall had had preschoolers as their audience. And
Oh,
we jokingly said that there was not a dry seat in the house.
that's supposed to be dry eye, right?
Right, 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 right. Yeah. But so
Um,
yeah, I worked on the second level, the shop level, and I had computers, and I was firing, as they say, firing off sound effects that we had written and
mm,
little musical, pieces
mm.
for the show, and I would just push a button on the computer, and what I had written would play, and so yeah, it was just a great
You just
experience.
followed the script, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
mm. Well, Larry, what is it about music that touches us? Music somehow gets into the spirit. I mean, even as you talked about your very beginnings from your mother's experiences, your dad's experiences, just you caught on to it really quickly. What is it about
yeah.
music that gets us?
The Lord has just wired us that way. And I think about, scripture talks about the morning stars sang together.
Yes.
It's all over the universe. And
Mm,
and the Lord has just blessed us with that wonderful gift. I remember when my daughter was just a tiny thing, I'd
mm,
put on music in the living room and she would come running out of her bedroom to interact with it. It was just, we're just made that way, and it's entertaining and funny to watch people respond. They just do.
mm.
Um, yeah, people do things physically that they don't do in other scenarios when music starts to play.
Yeah, yeah, good and bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's funny because I've often thought about the music of heaven.
Mm.
If it's as good as it gets down here, what
Oh
on
yeah,
earth is the music of heaven going to be like? Just
yeah.
it's, somebody said I don't know whether they took liberties or not, and you can help me as a theologian, but somebody said when we get to heaven, we will be music. Our
Mm.
whole being will be music, and that's how we'll communicate without words, but musically. Is any truth to that, do you think?
I don't know. I haven't thought of it that way, but I do know that we will all clap on two and four, and we'll sing
You
on
got
key.
it. You got it. You got it. How did you settle on this line of work?
As far as music or
As far as music, as a certified, what are your certified music
music practice.
practitioner?
Yeah,
And you
so
deal with hospice patients. How did you settle on that line of work?
well, I had become a hospice chaplain and I'd played guitar since I was in high school, and I
And
was playing.
banjo. And banjo?
And banjo. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, golly, I forgot that you even knew about that. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't tell many people that. But it's not accordion, so that's good. Uh,
Oh, that's great. Yes.
so I would play my guitar for hospice patients, but I wanted to do more than just play. And I'd go into a memory care unit and they would sing along. They couldn't carry on a conversation, but the music is deep down inside.
Mm,
And I met a guy that he was doing a presentation on live therapeutic music, which is different from music therapy. It's a different modality, a different discipline, a different intervention. And when he described it, I thought that's exactly what I want to do. And so um, I went through a program. It's a 2-year program, and I got certified. And basically, you learn to use sound for symptom management. So pain, agitation, anxiety, restlessness, uh, agit- uh, respiratory distress, blood pressure issues.
mm,
Um, it's amazing. You can use sound to help people to relax.
mm,
Uh, when I was doing this in the hospital, they'd send me to ICU and they'd say, "Go play for so and so. His blood pressure is high." And I'd go in, and this patient is intubated. As far as I know, uh, he's not even aware that I'm
mm,
there. But sound, the body processes sound whether we're aware of it or not. And so I played for him and I watched him to see
mm,
if there's any response. And then they come back and uh, they check his blood pressure again, and it's come back down to a much
mm.
better normal level. And
Yes.
they're thrilled. It's
Mm.
called a non-pharmacologic complementary intervention, which
Oh,
is a
that's some
fancy way
long,
of,
big words there, huh?
how long it took me to but yeah, so what I do with sound complements what the nurses and doctors do with medication,
Wonderful,
and there's
wonderful.
no side effects.
And I don't know if this is the right place to interject this, but I hear that because our hearing is the last to go, is that right? That music, what's the word, ministers to us right up until the end of our time. And
Hmm.
I've heard that people can hear and process what they're hearing musically, even though
Hmm.
they can't speak or respond, their body reacts to it. Is that a true statement?
We believe that. We think that's true, and we can verify to some degree by watching their emotions. If they're moving around, if they're restless, if they've got a frown on their face, and if they relax. If
Mm.
we see their respirations becoming fuller,
And then
yeah,
when they check the numbers, that verifies some things too, doesn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the cool thing too is even people who are very hard of hearing or deaf,
Hmm.
the body still processes sound. Our skin is our largest organ. Our
Mm.
skin, our bones, they all process sound. So I've played for patients that were very hard of hearing and just watched them relax and fall asleep.
Mm.
And it's just, we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm. Mm. Okay,
Yeah.
you talked about the hospice patients, but tell us a little bit more about the patients that you interact with. You said some are agitated, some are not able to hear you, intubated, meaning they have tubes all in them and all. Um,
Hmm.
but you still can get that response because of what you just said about the body being able to process it. Is that right? Process sound?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, there's all kinds of stories. When I was
Mm,
doing my practicum at Gwinnett Medical Duluth, which is now it's Northside Hospital in
mm,
Duluth, but they sent me into a young man's room. He had OD'd on I don't know what kind of drug, but they said
mm.
he's agitated and I need you to go and play for him. So, excuse me, I went in and um, he's sitting there. He's got his phone and he's just going crazy on his phone. And I explained who I was. I said the charge nurse wanted me to come and play for you, and he just nodded his head and kept doing his phone. And
Mm.
I started to play, and he looked over at me for a second, and then he looked back at his phone, and then he just he just put his head down, and he goes, and then after a little while, he's snoring, and
Oh.
And then he wakes up and he looks at me and he goes, I'm going to take a nap. And I said, good, go ahead, knock yourself out.
He didn't even know he had been napping.
No, no.
Mm,
And yeah,
mm,
and it's just amazing. It's just
mhm,
amazing to watch.
mm.
I'm trying to think. I had a patient, I think it was yesterday or day before, I forget which it was, but yeah, she just first thing I noticed that her respirations were just getting nice and full. And then I had one patient that woke herself up snoring. Um, and
In other words, your music puts them to sleep. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you want
oh
to,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what you want to see happen?
yeah. Or at
Mm,
least see them just relax. And
yeah.
again, that's I watched the patient just like the nurses do and look at
Mhm,
their
mhm,
facial expression, their breathing, their body position. Are they moving around or not? And I've had people pass away while I was playing.
oh my.
Yeah, yeah, and that is a powerful moment.
Mm, mm. So
So
what's you're talking about it, but a little bit more, I guess. What is the goal in therapy? What do you really
so
just
the goal of live therapeutic music is to create an environment that's conducive to relaxation and stabilization.
which
So
means calming when agitated and
yes, yes,
mm,
and we want to get them back to homeostasis. That's a fancy word, but just get them back to their baseline, get them out of this agitation or out of this pain, and
mm.
just help them to relax.
Are there any patients that become more agitated than calm? And if so, how do you handle that?
I've never had that. I had one patient, and this was very funny. Um, the nurse has to write an order for this. It's because it's an intervention. And the nurse wanted me to go play for this patient. She was in memory care and she was out in the common area. And I don't do that. It's one-on-one at the bedside. I don't play you know, in
Hmm,
the
hmm.
group. And so they took her back to her room. And I just had this sense that she didn't want to be there. And so I'm sitting there playing for her and she's sitting in her wheelchair. And they said she's nonverbal. And after I got through playing a piece, she goes, can I go? I said, sure, you can go.
Oh.
But yeah, I've never had anybody get more agitated. In fact, I had a nurse that almost fell asleep while I was playing for a patient. The nurse was on the other
Um,
side of the room and she was doing her documentation. And
mm.
she tells everybody that. She says, I was just sitting there, it's like, whoa, I'm getting sleepy.
So Larry, what do you play when you well, two things. Number one, you get your walking papers or your orders from the nursing staff. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you take orders from them and then you go and do what they have asked you to do.
Right.
Now, um, so oh gosh, I forgot my question to you, but
What do I
anyway.
play?
What do you play? Yes. What kind of music do you play? And at the same time, you sent me a picture of this huge guitar thing that you play. Do you
Yeah.
carry it around with you?
Oh, yeah. Every
Okay,
day.
what do you play? Then tell me about that instrument.
Okay, so I'm certified on voice and guitar, and I I play a lot. I start out by playing just random non-metered chords. I'm just creating an environment. I'm not necessarily there. I'm not really there to play songs per se.
Mhm, mhm,
And I for the most part I hum. Well, I sing on an oo
mhm,
because I'm not trying to engage them cognitively. I'm trying to create an environment that's conducive to relaxation.
mhm,
So I'll use songs and I'll kind of take them apart and it's kind of like an oral massage. And I'm watching this patient and I change how I play and what I play, but it's a very soothing environment. It's very relaxing.
mhm.
And so, yeah, and I use this harp guitar because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, that's perfect for what I do because I have all these lower frequencies.
But it's a mammoth thing, and it's called what?
It's a harp guitar. These were popular back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. and you would see them in the background of mandolin orchestras, and they kind of went away, we think, with the advent of the electric guitar. And but they're just, because they have those lower frequencies, that's perfect for what I do. It adds that bottom that just helps to soothe people. It really does.
That's a good we're almost out of time here, but let me just ask you, because that's a good point. Do people respond to certain notes better than other? No, you talk about the lower frequencies.
Yeah.
So does the upper range kind of disappear with people? And
You
I guess
know,
it's a hearing acumen kind of a thing. If you've lost I remember, this is why I'm asking, because my mother lost the upper range in her hearing, so she could only hear, and people would come in and they would yell at her, "Hey, Miss Fisher," but she still couldn't hear them. And I
right.
would come in, I'd just get close to her and I'd say, "Hey, Mom," but I'd use my lower register, and she
Hmm.
always responded to me.
Yep. Yep.
That
You
was
know,
so amazing to me.
yeah. And as I play for patients, I'm watching, and I'll change key centers just to see if they respond better from one key to another. But to your point, I had a friend that I grew up with at Reinhardt Bible Church, and he was deaf. And we went to John Brown together. And one time we were coming back from school, and I don't remember what the deal was, but he was driving, and I was in the back seat, and I whistled really loudly, and he whirled around and had this agitated look on his face. And I was like, how did he hear that? I had no idea, but it was the upper register that really, yeah, we have those little, those little hairs. But we hear between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz in general. But there are other vibrations, and sound is beyond that on either ends of the spectrum, but we don't recognize it. We don't hear it, but our body is processing it.
Larry, I had asked you earlier how you came into this line of work. Did you have something else you wanted to tell me about that? What took you into
Yes.
the line of work?
Yeah. So as far as how I became a chaplain,
Yes.
so I moved to Atlanta in 2005 to join staff at Dunwoody Baptist Church. In the meantime, I met Pam, and we got married at Dunwoody Baptist Church. So that was February of 2008.
Mm.
And 3 months later, the pastor came to me and told me that I was not a good fit for the church. And so I was stunned. This was the first time that I was on that end of
Mm-hmm.
the job thing. And so I
Uh-huh.
just thought, well, I'll just go get another church job. I've done this before. I'm good at it.
Uh-huh.
Could not find anything. Could
Mm.
not. I was doing all kind. I was doing demolition at hotels. I was doing house painting.
Painting? Yes, I remember
Yes.
that one. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And Pam doesn't remember this, but I remember her asking me, "Have you thought about being a hospice chaplain?" And I said, no, I hadn't. But anyway, I ended up getting trained for that. But in the meantime, I really struggled with the way the pastor let me go.
Mm-hmm.
It was painful, and it was not
Mm.
done well. But I never ran into him. And we were in the same area for 2 years. And then I learned that he had stage 3 colon cancer. And when I heard that, I just thought, okay, I have to let this go.
Mm.
And so I texted him and said, Mac, I am so sorry to hear of your diagnosis. I want you to know I'm praying for you. And he texted me right back and he said, Larry, you have no idea how much this means to me. So we went to lunch for the next couple of years. I had more time with him than when I was on staff.
Mm.
And just we bonded in that time. And then one day I got this, and at that time I was working for a hospice company.
Mm.
And so one day I get this voicemail. If you call me back on my cell number here, we're having a hard time finding the right number. And give me the name of the hospice again, and give me the phone number and who we should call. Saw the doctor today, and he's waiting. Well, he's not just waiting, but
anyway, he's on board, and so I would appreciate that. If I don't answer the phone, just leave me a message, okay? All right, friend. I love you, and I can't think of a better thing, Larry, that I go see Jesus with you as my chaplain. I love you, man. You, Pam, my love. We'll talk soon. Bye.
You know, if he hadn't let me go, I wouldn't have become a chaplain.
Found it. Right, right.
And the Lord allowed me to be his chaplain
Yes,
and see
yes.
him through.
Isn't that something?
Oh,
Sometimes
yeah.
those hurtful things turn out to be God's blessing in disguise. And that's
Yes.
what
And,
happened to you.
here I am at my advanced age, at the, just in my sweet spot.
Mhm.
Pam has asked me from time to time, have you thought about retiring? And I said, well, I love what I do and people love me doing it.
Yeah.
I love what I do,
Mm,
both as a chaplain and as a therapeutic musician. It's
mm,
just a joy.
mm. Larry, our time is up. But can I say this? I'll see you and Pam at the Christmas gathering, Lord willing, in December.
Is that when it is?
It is. You know that. Thank you so much. Larry Haron has been with us. Larry is a certified music practitioner. And as you can hear, he's very much sold on the work the Lord has given him to do. And that helps us to understand what, or at least how the Lord leads. And that's been so wonderful. Larry, thank you again. Hello to Pam. All my
Thank
best
you.
to you.
Thank you,
We'll talk
Johanna,
to you
and I will hello to her.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for listening today. This is Truth. Absolutely. We'll see you next time.